Hey everyone, welcome to our deep dive into how our brains learn best.
Yeah.
We're going to be taking a look at John Medina's Brain Rules.
Excellent book.
Yeah, and, kind of distilling those key insights into something practical that all of our listeners can apply at work, at home, and at school.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I think we're in for some seriously counterintuitive stuff. So
Yeah, for sure.
let's see where this takes us.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, right off the bat, Medina throws us into the deep end for this very first rule. He says the human brain evolved too.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, duh, but
Right.
Where's the practical application here?
Well, that's where I think this idea of the performance envelope comes in. Medina's argument is that our brains evolved to survive in a very different world.
Right.
The African savanna,
Yeah.
constant movement, problem solving in unpredictable environments, strong social connections within our tribes.
So basically we're cavemen and cavewomen trying to navigate, 21st century life.
That's a great way to put it.
No wonder we feel out of sync sometimes.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think, our modern lives with all the sedentary habits, the information, overload, the chronic stress, it really is a mismatch for our brain's evolutionary wiring.
Yeah.
So by understanding this mismatch, we can start to create environments and habits and routines and all that better support our brain's natural inclinations.
So how do we apply this performance envelope idea? I mean, should we all be, ditching our desks and running through the woods?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say running through the woods, but, incorporating movement into our daily routines is definitely key.
Okay.
And, it's interesting because Medina's second rule exercise boosts brain power really goes hand in hand with this evolutionary perspective.
Yeah, and he even tells that story of Jack LaLanne, the fitness legend, who towed 70 boats at the age of 70.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's amazing.
talk about embodying, this rule.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic example of what's possible when we keep our bodies and minds active.
Right.
And the science backs it up. Exercise increases blood flow to the brain, lifting oxygen and nutrients.
Yeah.
It also triggers the release of BDNF, which is this protein that acts like fertilizer for brain cells, helping them to grow and connect.
So it's not just about physical health, it's literally brain food.
Yeah.
Sign me up. But how much exercise are we talking about here? Do we need to be marathon runners to get these benefits? Or?
No, not at all. The good news is that even moderate exercise makes a significant difference.
Okay.
Medina suggests at least 30 minutes of brisk walking or similar activity most days of the week.
Okay.
And you don't even have to do it all at once. You can break it up into shorter intervals throughout the day.
It's doable.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
Now on to a topic near and dear to my heart, sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Medina's third rule. Sleep well. Think well. And, I have to admit, I've definitely been guilty of sacrificing sleep in the past, thinking I could just, power through.
Yeah.
But Medina makes a pretty compelling case for, prioritizing those Z's.
He does, he shares that kind of cautionary tale of Peter Tripp,
Oh, yeah.
who was the DJ who attempted to stay awake for 200 hours straight.
Right.
And, the results were disastrous hallucinations, paranoia, severe cognitive impairment.
It sounds like my worst all-nighter experience times 1,000.
Pretty much.
But what's actually happening in our brains when we deprive ourselves of sleep?
Well, Medina explains that sleep is crucial for this whole range of brain functions,
Fair enough.
including memory consolidation, emotional regulation, cognitive performance.
Right.
During sleep, our brains are busy processing information, clearing out toxins, strengthening neural connections.
So it's like our brains are doing a deep clean and reorganization while you're sleeping.
Exactly, a great way to put it.
Okay.
And then Medina also introduces this idea of chronotypes,
Yeah.
which is our individual sleep-wake preferences.
Right.
So, some people are naturally larks, the early risers.
Yeah.
Others are owls, the night owls. And trying to force ourselves into a sleep schedule that doesn't align with our natural chronotype can lead to chronic sleep deprivation.
That makes a lot of sense. So how do we figure out, what our chronotype is and then optimize our sleep schedule based on that?
Well, Medina suggests, paying attention to your natural energy, peaks and dips throughout the day. When do you feel most alert and focused? When do you feel most tired?
Right.
That can give you clues about, your ideal sleep-wake rhythm.
Okay.
And once you have a sense of, are you a lark? Are you an owl? Then you try to create a consistent sleep schedule that honors those natural patterns.
Okay, so prioritize sleep and listen to our body's natural rhythms.
Got it. Exactly.
Now let's tackle a topic that can be a little bit heavier: stress.
Yeah.
Medina's fourth rule states, stressed brains don't learn the same way.
Right.
And I think, we all kind of know that stress can make it harder to think clearly, but what's the science behind this?
Well, Medina highlights the role of cortisol, which is this hormone that's released in response to stress. Right.
And, in small doses, cortisol can actually be beneficial. It helps us focus and mobilize energy.
Okay.
But prolonged exposure to high levels of cortisol, like in chronic stress, can have detrimental effects on the brain.
And to illustrate this point, he uses that example of learned helplessness in dogs.
Yeah, it was disturbing. But,
Yeah.
They did this experiment where they repeatedly exposed these dogs to electric shocks with no way to escape.
Right.
And eventually, even when they were given an escape route, the dogs just gave up and endured the shocks.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking. But how does that relate to, human experiences of stress?
Well, Medina draws this parallel to situations where individuals feel trapped or powerless, in the face of chronic stress.
Yeah.
And this can lead to a sense of hopelessness, and it can impair our ability to learn and problem solve effectively.
So chronic stress can literally shrink our brains and make us feel helpless. This is serious stuff.
It is, but there are ways to manage stress and mitigate its negative effects.
Medina emphasizes the importance of exercise. We talked about that. Right. Mindfulness practices like meditation and, nurturing supportive social connections as powerful stress buffers.
So it's about finding healthy coping mechanisms and building a toolkit of, stress-busting strategies.
Exactly. And, it's important to remember that stress is a natural part of life.
Right.
It's not about eliminating stress altogether. It's about managing it effectively so it doesn't take over and impair our well-being.
That's a great point. Now, onto a rule that challenges some deeply ingrained assumptions. Medina's fifth rule: every brain is wired differently. And he introduces the fascinating case of Kim Peek, the real-life inspiration for the movie Rain Man.
Right.
And, Peek had an extraordinary memory, but he struggled with basic motor skills.
Yeah.
So his brain was wired for, incredible memory, but not for everyday tasks. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is. And, how does this apply to the rest of us?
Right.
We may not all be savants, but does this mean we all have unique learning styles? Absolutely. Medina emphasizes that every brain is unique, shaped by this combination of genetics and experience. Even identical twins don't have identical brain wiring.
Really?
Yeah, our experiences, from the moment we're born, sculpt our neural connections, creating this one-of-a-kind masterpiece.
This is mind-blowing. So ditch the one-size-fits-all approach to learning and embrace our individual strengths and differences.
Exactly. Understanding our unique brain wiring can help us identify our learning preferences, leverage our strengths, and find strategies that work best for us.
This is so liberating. It means we can stop trying to fit into some predefined box and instead celebrate our own, individual ways of thinking and learning.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah, it's like giving ourselves permission to be who we are.
Exactly.
And to learn in a way that feels natural and authentic to us.
And to our brains.
Right, to our brains.
Yeah.
So now that we've kind of set the stage with these first 5 brain rules.
Yeah, these are foundational.
They are. We're going to dive into some more specific strategies and techniques for, making learning stick and boosting our brain power in part 2 of our deep dive.
Can't wait.
So stay tuned.
See you there. All right, so picking up where we left off.
Yes.
Medina's 6th rule throws a little bit of a wrench in the works.
Okay.
He says we don't pay attention to boring things.
Ouch. That feels a little too close to home sometimes.
Yeah.
But seriously, though, how can we make learning more engaging? Especially, when we have to tackle material that might not initially, spark our interest.
Well, this is where I think the power of emotion comes in.
Okay.
Medina explains that our brains are wired to prioritize information that's emotionally charged. We remember, vivid, emotionally arousing events far better than mundane, everyday occurrences. Right. I mean, think back to your most vivid memories.
Yeah.
Probably involve strong emotions.
Oh, absolutely. I still remember that time I accidentally set off the fire alarm in my dorm.
There you go.
Not my proudest moment, but definitely a memory that stuck with me.
Exactly. And, we can use this knowledge to our advantage when it comes to learning.
Okay.
So instead of just presenting, dry facts,
right,
we can weave them into stories, connect them to real-world applications,
okay,
use humor and surprise to capture attention.
So Ditch the boring lectures and bring on the drama.
Well, not necessarily drama, but definitely engagement.
Right.
And Medina also points out that our attention spans are limited.
Yeah.
Especially when we're passively listening to information. He suggests aiming for chunks of information no longer than 10 minutes.
Okay.
Interspersed with opportunities for active engagement,
right,
discussion, or reflection.
This is gold, the 10-minute rule.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to keep that in mind when planning, presentations or even just having conversations.
Yeah.
But what about those times when we feel like we have to juggle multiple tasks at once? Is multitasking really as bad as they say?
Medina's 7th rule tackles this head on. Okay.
Repeat to remember. And it turns out our brains aren't actually designed to multitask effectively.
Okay.
When we try to do multiple things at once,
right,
we're actually just rapidly switching our attention back and forth.
Yeah.
Which leads to errors, reduced productivity, increased stress.
I'm starting to feel a little guilty about all those times I've tried to answer emails while listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
So what's the solution? Embrace single tasking and, give our full attention to one thing at a time.
Exactly. And, when it comes to learning new information,
yeah,
repetition is key for making memories stick.
Right.
But not just any kind of repetition. Medina emphasizes the importance of spaced repetition, which is reviewing information at increasing intervals, as the most effective way to move information from short-term to long-term memory.
So cramming for a test the night before is actually counterproductive.
Pretty much.
I wish I had known this back in school.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, it's never too late to learn. That's true.
But spaced repetition... Okay, so it's like building a muscle. Consistent spaced out workouts are more effective than one intense session.
Yeah, great analogy.
And speaking of muscles, I'm starting to see how all these brain rules are kind of interconnected.
Yeah.
Exercise supports brain health. Sleep allows our brains to consolidate learning. Managing stress prevents cognitive impairment. It's like a holistic system.
You're exactly right. And, Medina's 8th rule, stimulate more of the senses, adds another layer to this interconnectedness.
Okay.
He starts this chapter with this mind-bending example of how sound can actually change our perception of a flickering light.
Whoa. Okay, that sounds trippy, but what's the takeaway for, learning and memory?
Well, it highlights the power of multisensory learning.
Yeah.
Our brains are constantly taking in information from all our senses.
Right.
And engaging multiple senses simultaneously can enhance memory and understanding.
Makes sense.
Think about how vividly you remember experiences that involve sight, sound, smell, touch, even taste.
Yeah, I'm starting to think about all those times I've tried to learn something new just by reading about it.
Right.
Maybe I need to get more hands-on and engage on my senses.
Exactly. And Medina highlights this fascinating experiment with wine tasting, where they gave professional wine tasters white wine that had been dyed red.
Oh, wow.
And they described it using terms typically reserved for red wines.
Really?
Their vision overridden their sense of taste.
Wow. So we're not just passively absorbing information through our senses.
Right.
We're actively constructing our reality based on the input we receive.
Precisely. And this means we can be more intentional about how we design learning experiences.
Okay.
Incorporating visuals, sounds, even smells, and textures.
Wow.
To create more immersive and memorable learning experiences.
This is giving me so many ideas for how to make learning more fun and engaging, both for myself and for others.
I love it.
Now, on to a topic that's close to my heart, music.
Yes.
Medina's 9th rule, vision, trumps all other senses. And this chapter takes us beyond, the myth of the Mozart effect.
Right.
And delves into the wider benefits of music.
It's fascinating how music can impact our brains in so many ways.
Yeah.
Medina presents a compelling case for the cognitive and social benefits of music training.
Okay.
He emphasizes that music is not just about entertainment.
Right.
It's a powerful tool for cognitive and social development.
So playing an instrument as a child can have lifelong benefits.
Absolutely. Studies have shown that music training improves language skills, spatial reasoning, working memory.
Wow.
And even empathy.
That's amazing.
It's like a full brain workout.
Yeah.
And these benefits aren't limited to professional musicians.
Okay.
Even casual music making, singing in a choir, playing in a band, can foster social connection and emotional intelligence.
This is so inspiring. It makes me want to dust off my old guitar and start jamming.
Do it.
It's like music can unlock hidden potential in our brains, both cognitively and social.
Absolutely.
Now let's tackle a topic that's often fraught with misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Gender differences in the brain. Medina's 10th rule. Male and female brains are different.
Hmm.
This can be a sensitive topic, so how does Medina approach it?
He dives right into the complexities.
Okay.
Exploring the interplay of nature and nurture in shaping gender differences.
Right.
But he also cautions against simplistic stereotypes.
So it's not as simple as saying men are from Mars and women are from Venus.
Yeah, not at all.
Medina urges us to avoid those kinds of oversimplifications.
Right.
He does highlight some interesting research, though,
Yeah.
showing that men and women tend to respond differently to stress and process emotions in unique ways.
I'm curious to hear more about this. Could understanding these differences help us communicate more effectively and build stronger relationships?
Absolutely. For example, research suggests that women tend to activate the left hemisphere of their amygdala when faced with stress,
Okay.
which leads to a more detailed memory of the emotional event.
Mm-hmm.
Men, on the other hand, tend to activate the right hemisphere,
Okay.
which focuses on the overall gist of the situation. So women might remember specific details of a stressful encounter,
Right.
while men might remember the overall feeling or takeaway.
Exactly.
That's fascinating, and it makes sense considering what we talked about earlier
Right.
regarding emotion and memory.
It all ties together.
It does.
Yeah.
And this understanding can be incredibly helpful in navigating relationships and workplaces.
Absolutely.
It can help us communicate more effectively, avoid misunderstandings, and appreciate the different ways that men and women experience and express emotions.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in our deep dive into John Medina's brain rules.
We have.
You know, everything from the evolutionary roots of our brains to the power of music and, the complexities of gender differences.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
It has, and it's amazing to see how all these seemingly disparate pieces kind of fit together to paint this picture of how our brains learn best.
Right. And I think, now we're moving into that phase of, okay, we've explored what the science behind how our brains work. But now it's like, how do we actually apply this?
Right.
How exactly? So I'm excited to kind of, dig into that aspect a little bit more.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how we can, bring these brain rules to life in real world situations. And Medina, emphasizes that these principles can be applied in a variety of contexts.
Yeah.
At work, at home, in school.
Absolutely.
So let's start with the workplace. Many of us spend a significant portion of our lives at work.
Right.
And it's often an environment that can be, quite challenging for our brains.
It is.
We're constantly bombarded with information deadlines,
It's like our brains are on overdrive.
They are.
Yeah.
So how can we create a more brain-friendly workplace? How can we apply these brain rules to boost productivity and creativity and well-being?
Well, I think, one of the first things is incorporating more movement into our workday.
Right.
Remember Medina's second rule, exercise boosts brain power. This doesn't mean we need to install, treadmills at our desks, but even small changes like taking walking meetings, losing a standing desk, simply taking short breaks to stretch and move around can make a big difference.
I love the idea of walking meetings.
Yeah.
Get those creative juices flowing and get some fresh air at the same time.
Absolutely. And, we can apply the 10-minute rule to meetings as well.
Right.
Instead of scheduling hour-long meetings, try breaking them up into shorter, more focused sessions with breaks for movement or reflection.
That's a great way to keep people engaged and prevent, those dreaded meeting slumps.
Exactly.
But what about all the distractions that we face in the workplace?
Yeah.
Emails, notifications, social media. It's like a constant battle for our attention.
Right. It is. And this is where I think Medina's suggestion of creating, interruption-free zones comes in.
Oh, yeah.
So, designate specific times or spaces where you can disconnect from distractions and focus on your most important tasks. This might mean turning off notifications, closing unnecessary tabs, even putting your phone on airplane mode.
I definitely need to work on that.
Yeah, me too.
It's so easy to get sucked into that vortex of emails and notifications.
The struggle is real.
It is.
But, it's not just about the external distraction.
Right.
It's also managing our internal distractions.
Right. Those thoughts and worries that can kind of pull us away from our work.
Exactly. And so mindfulness practices can be helpful here, as well as, techniques like creating a worry list to get those nagging thoughts out of your head and onto paper.
It's like giving those worries a designated space so they're not taking up, valuable real estate in our brains.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
So now let's shift our focus to, learning and development in the workplace.
Okay.
How can we apply these brain rules to make, training and professional development more effective?
Well, I think, remember the power of multisensory learning
Right.
instead of relying solely on lectures or PowerPoint presentations. Yeah.
Try incorporating visual sounds, even smells, movement into training programs.
So making training, more interactive, engaging, experiential.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can see how that would make a huge difference in how people, learn and retain information.
Absolutely. And remember, the brain doesn't pay attention to boring things.
Right.
So, make learning fun, relevant, emotionally engaging.
Mm-hmm.
Connect the material to real-world applications, use storytelling techniques, create opportunities for hands-on learning.
It's about creating a learning environment that's stimulating and inspiring.
Yes.
Rather than just a dry transfer of information.
I love that.
Now let's move from the workplace to the home environment.
Okay.
This is where we rest and recharge and connect with loved ones.
Our sanctuary.
It is our sanctuary, but even our homes can sometimes feel stressful.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when we're juggling, work and family and all the demands of daily life.
Absolutely. So how do we create a more brain-friendly home environment?
Right.
Well, I think we can start by prioritizing sleep.
Create a consistent sleep schedule that aligns with your natural chronotype.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure your bedroom is dark, quiet, and cool.
Right.
Avoid caffeine or alcohol before bed.
I've definitely noticed a difference in my energy levels and mood when I prioritize sleep. It's like hitting the reset button for my brain.
It really is. And, we can also incorporate mindfulness practices into our home life.
Okay.
Whether it's meditating for a few minutes each day, practicing mindful eating, or simply taking a few deep breaths when we feel overwhelmed.
It's about bringing more awareness and intention to our daily routines.
Yes.
And finding those moments of calm amidst the chaos.
Exactly. And, it's also important, I think, to create a designated space for relaxation and rejuvenation in your home.
Okay.
This could be a cozy reading nook, a meditation corner, or even just a comfortable chair where you can unwind and de-stress.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
It's about creating a physical space that reflects, our commitment to self-care and well-being. Now, what about nurturing curiosity and learning in the home environment? How do we create a home where learning is encouraged and celebrated?
Well, I think one way is to, create a family learning time.
Go.
A designated time each week where everyone in the family engages in a learning activity together.
Okay.
You could read books aloud, play educational games, watch documentaries, visit museums, or even work on a project together.
It's about making learning a family affair.
Exactly. And, it doesn't have to be formal or structured.
Right.
It could be as simple as exploring a new topic together, discussing current events, or even just sharing, what you learned that day.
I love that. And remember to encourage exploration and experimentation in your children.
Absolutely.
Let them take things apart, build things, get messy.
Yeah.
Ask questions. Foster that sense of wonder and curiosity in their young minds.
Yes, nurture that innate drive to learn and explore that we all have within us.
And we can do that by creating a home environment, that's filled with books and games and art supplies and opportunities for discovery.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay, finally, let's talk about school.
Okay.
We've already touched on some of Medina's ideas for creating, brain-friendly classrooms, incorporating more movement and multisensory learning and personalized instruction and a culture of curiosity and exploration.
Right. It's about moving away from that traditional model of passive learning.
Yeah. Sitting in rows, listening to lectures, memorizing facts.
Exactly.
Yeah. And embracing a more holistic, inquiry-based approach to education.
I love that. And, Medina also emphasizes the importance of fostering social and emotional learning in the classroom.
Yeah.
This means teaching kids not just academic skills, but also life skills, how to collaborate, how to communicate effectively, how to manage their emotions and build healthy relationships.
It's about nurturing the whole child.
Yes.
Their intellectual, social, emotional, and physical well-being.
Absolutely. And when we create learning environments that support the whole child,
we create a foundation for lifelong learning, growth, and success.
This has been such an incredible journey.
It has.
We've explored the fascinating world of our brains, uncovered some surprising facts about how they operate.
Yeah.
And discovered practical strategies for applying this knowledge to enhance our lives.
It's been a joy to share this exploration with you.
And I hope our listeners feel empowered to take this knowledge and create positive changes in their own lives, at work, at home, and in school.
Absolutely.
Remember, your brain is an incredible organ capable of amazing feats of learning, creativity, and adaptation.
It is.
By understanding how your brain works and applying these brain rules, you can unlock its true potential and live a richer, more fulfilling life.
So keep those brains buzzing, fellow explorers.
And never stop learning, growing, and discovering the incredible power of your own mind.
Well said.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into John Medina's brain rules.
Until next time.
Until next time.